Welcome to another edition of Focus on Hopkins County. I am Whitney Bundren, and I'm filling in today for Tim Thomas. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Demetrius Gray, and he is the owner of Reliant Exteriors, LLC, based out of Louisville, Kentucky. And Demetrius was our special guest today at the MEDC conference here in Madisonville. So we're just going to have a conversation about your start, your entrepreneurial spirit, which is amazing. You have a great story. So let's just get into it if that's okay with you.
All
right. So today we had the Minority Economic Development Council Forum that was held at the Ballard Convention Center here in Madisonville. And you were our guest speaker of the day. You are a homegrown boy. You were born here in Madisonville.
Indeed.
Went to high school at North Hopkins. And then from North Hopkins, tell us a little bit about your next journey.
So I got a scholarship to the University of Louisville and journeyed to the big city.
Okay.
Believe it or not, met my wife there and really have been there ever since, back and forth. Most of my family is still here in Madisonville, and as I told the group, have been in Western Kentucky since 1865, and so it's hard to get away from in that way. But really just have started to, really build some roots here in the state of Kentucky and really focus our efforts on seeing what we can do to help. And so that's why I did today's conference.
Okay. Something else that you talked about today was what inspired you, who inspired you. I know that you said something that I really took to heart was you have different mentors for different periods in your life depending on what's going on. So just kind of tell us a little bit about, you have this highly successful company in Louisville. Now you've expanded into South Carolina and you cover Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, the whole gamut there. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your journey to get where you are today with your successful business in Louisville. How did you start? Where did you go?
Well, most of it started with education, really. I'm a big nerd, and so I really grew up admiring all the titans of industry: John D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Andrew Carnegie, all these different folks, and so I really devoured that history, and that's what kind of led me to study accounting. And even our local titans of industry like Charlie Kington and David Jackson and all those folks and the Badgett family, all those things really were impetus for me to even go down that entrepreneurial journey. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, my dad was, and so all of those things really kind of played into why I went that direction. And so my greatest mentor is my grandfather. I talk to him every single day, and he really acts like my board of directors. I don't always like what he has to say.
Right, sure.
but he really does act as that encouraging voice to say, go on, keep doing it. I think that sounds like a great idea, or you might want to think that one through a little bit more. And really helping me to see that, hey, you could do this. Every day is a new day, and just take the bull by the horns.
Awesome. So with this business that you have, a question that I have, and I didn't ask it today, but why roofing? Why not something else? What was it about roofing that led you on to that particular path?
Well, so it could actually be anything, really. What you find out as you start on that path is that, there's business is the same in every single industry. There's different nuances. Whether you have a arts and crafts shop, or whether you're running Colgate or Crest or any of those companies, the fundamentals and the principles of business are still the same. And so roofing just happened to be the thing that slapped me in the face in some ways, and really just kind of, oh wow, this makes sense. And it also had a really good gross margin. And so I thought, I can make money at this. And the other really big thing was that I really like to do things that even the layperson can get invested in.
Exactly.
So for me, it was like, okay, well, I can run this company all day long, but I can also employ people who maybe have less education, who could actually be put to work as a result. And so really it's those sort of things, those trades, and you're really seeing nationally right now a trend toward the trades through welding and HVAC and plumbing. And so I really think, for an area like even Madisonville and Hopkins County, that's huge, to really build these enterprises. And, we're also at this sort of inflection point in U.S. history where actually more companies are merging than ever before. I think back in the 70s, we saw that huge hostile takeover span. And so that's what's happening right now. So all these companies are merging together. They're saying, oh, you know what, we can do more together than we can apart. And so the trades are just a really easy way to do that.
Okay, awesome. A theme that ran kind of throughout our forum today, and one of the reasons that MEDC had this program today was to talk about, have you lost your dream to open a business? Let's help you find it. And so I noticed that a big theme in what you talked about today was dreams. And you talked about asking questions, always dreaming, and I think you said your wife, very smart lady, helped you come up with an acronym about dreaming. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of tell us about how important it is to have a dream and to help you along your path to success.
Yeah, so I think it was decisively resist every alternate motivation. And so now, it's not one that I use every single day because I have actually successfully resisted every alternate motivation.
Right.
But this sort of idea that there's a whole lot of other things that most people can do. And again, back to that education piece, like that's something that you learn in college, right? That cost-benefit analysis. Like what's the highest good that I can do right now in this moment? And so for me, it was the best thing I can do right now in this moment is to start a business. And so the dream is really the process by which you determine what is the highest thing that I can be doing in this moment. Is it to go work for, a factory? Is it for me to go back to school? Is it for me to start the business? What is the most successful, most productive thing I can do in the next week, the next year, the next 10 years? And that makes the decision a whole lot easier in terms of seeing it in that way, and really allowing yourself to spend the time to say, what are the possibilities, and just to say, hey, no holds barred, no barriers. If I had, all the money in the world, how would I do it? What would I do? And then letting yourself go down that path if it's viable.
Yeah, awesome. A word that you said today, and I don't know if you coined this word yourself, if you heard it somewhere, but I wrote it down, a entrepreneur. I thought that was really interesting. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of explain to us what a entrepreneur is and how that kind of relates to what you're doing today.
Well, so much of the fabric of this country is people who started stuff and made stuff, right? So I talked about the captains of industry. They were at some point entrepreneurs, right? I think John D. Rockefeller started as an accountant and eventually he was a wholesale merchant, and then moved through the accounting department and said, hey, you know what? I want to do this on my own. And so that's what I mean by entrepreneur. These people who have dreams and ambitions, but haven't quite made the leap yet into what it is that they feel like they want to do. And so the problem with entrepreneurs is that sometimes they find themselves in that state forever, right? So not spending so much time in the entrepreneurial stage, but moving from entrepreneur to entrepreneur is a huge step. And so allowing yourself time to dream through and daydream through this sort of entrepreneurial phase will get you to that entrepreneurial step where you're really comfortable, you're ready, and it's time to execute that business plan.
In my line of work, I have a lot of people that come to me that say, I want to start my own business. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to create a business plan. I don't know how to market. I don't, all of these different things that they're unsure of how to do. What advice would you give to someone right here in Hopkins County who is looking to start a business but maybe just doesn't have the resources or doesn't know the right people to get that business started? What advice would you give them if they want to pursue that dream?
These aren't your grandmother's businesses anymore.
Exactly.
You don't need a whole kit and caboodle. One of the biggest mistakes I made when I first started my business was I thought, man, people want to see trucks and they want to see great signage
Right.
and they want to see this and they want to see that. And the reality was people didn't care.
Right, exactly.
They just wanted a roof on their house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so if I could deliver exactly what they wanted without any frills, then they would use me. And if they could do it with as little liability as possible, they would always do it. And so that's what a lot of those folks have to remember, is that if you can deliver the product, no frills, and get the person what they want, meet the need, give the want, then you're in tall cotton, as we like to say,
Right,
you know.
right.
And so that's really the thing that I would tell them. You know, in the ad, you know, you'd hate to say that it's excuses, but in some ways it is, because you got Google, you got YouTube,
Yeah.
and people are creating channels telling you how to do things all day. You've got
Yes.
Udemy, you've got all of these different, you know, I'm still using them today. So when folks are, you know, say, well, I don't even know how to get started. Well, do like Demetrius does and go learn something online.
Yeah.
Because that is really the way that you're going to glean information. I think I talked a little bit about learning digital marketing online. Like, I didn't know much about it. And I had to actually go online and sit through some YouTube videos and really educate myself on what it is. There's tons of resources. The SBA has a litany of things on their website
Yes.
that define what things are, but you've got to do the work. You know, there's work to be done to become an entrepreneur. And so the question really is not how you get there, but are you ready? You know, are you
Yes.
ready to take the necessary steps
Yes.
for entrepreneurship?
Yes, I agree. You know, we had before your talk today, we had what I thought was a really awesome forum of 4 local business owners here. We had Tony Reynolds, who owns Tony's upholstery business. We had Carol Jones, who owns Massage at Morton House. We had Robbie Taylor, who owns Robbie's Daycare. We had Bill McReynolds, who's a regional manager for Legal Shield. And I thought it was fascinating how 4 people, 4 totally different types of business, but so many common themes that ran through. One obstacle that I noticed just from attending a lot of these types of sessions is marketing, and so each of them had a different marketing strategy that they preferred. Again, a common thread that I noticed was referral, word of mouth. Again, we're in a small town, so word of mouth may mean more to us here than it may mean in other places. But what would you suggest would be the most impactful means of advertising and marketing for your business?
So, hyper-local things are really, really good. From my experience, referral often means no marketing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when people say their business operates off referrals, really they mean that they're allowing the market to dictate who comes in their door. And if you're trying to sell a product, that's a really quick way to go out of business.
Right.
And so you want referrals. That has to be one part of an overall marketing strategy that gets you the sort of revenue that you need. So for us, anything hyper-local, I'm a member of Southeast Christian Church in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, sure.
And so we advertise in the Southeast Outlook and their Southeast Business Directory, and that does, so much of what we need in terms of just continually generating those leads that we need. It doesn't mean that we're going to win every single contract, but understanding what your marketing cost is. So if we spend $500 on an ad, what does it cost us to return that same $500? And if we break even, we're good, So, and we take some chances on different things, but very, very hyper-local things. So the digital strategy is huge anymore, even in small towns. People are smartphoning it up, okay, who can I find to do this? And so they're even becoming less referral sensitive as a result. And so learning what that digital strategy looks like is huge. It's one of those things that you've got to figure out. It's essential. You can't even leave it out, even in a small town anymore. And so those are just a few things that, in my mind, are active challenges for us, because we're always trying to figure that out. We also do a lot of direct mail in our business, but that's really expensive, and most folks can't afford to do that at the outset. But once you have a targeted campaign, you can absolutely do that really quickly.
Okay, awesome. Something else, at the Minority Economic Development Council forum today, MEDC is really striving hard to help empower African Americans in this community to start their own business and do that. You talked about the plight of Black people today in your talk, and you said in the roofing business there's no Black people doing this, and so if you wouldn't mind, share with us your struggles and triumphs of starting a minority-owned business, and have you noticed any particular challenges, or how has it been for you as far as your personal journey?
Well, for the most part, there have been challenges, but they're really business-specific challenges. They aren't challenges that are unique to people of color or anything like that.
Right.
If anything, my success has debunked a lot of myths.
Right.
Can I say that I've been discriminated against in any way? I don't necessarily know that that's the case. I mean, we deal a lot in the private sector, and one of the things I always struggle with was, should I get certified as a minority-owned business and do those sort of things?
Right.
And I decided no. We were making a lot of money doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing against it. I mean, folks do it all day long and make great money doing it.
Right.
The reality is, though, is that I really believe that most of your business has to be based on private sector relationships. They're easier for long-run success because they're based on relationships. Whereas federal government, they have to be very, very studious with taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
And so because they have to be that way, your relationship with a contract manager doesn't really have much to do with whether or not you get the work. They're making a decision based on lowest price.
Yes.
And so, that's where you got to, and there's a lot of hurdles that affect minority contractors, and some of them are related to a history of disenfranchisement in areas like credit and things like that. And so because those things exist, there's very, very high hurdles, in my opinion, to government access to contracts, specifically in the contracting area. Now, if you can find a sweet niche somewhere where you don't have to bond anything and you don't really have to put up your firstborn, then absolutely go for it. But otherwise, one of the areas in terms of government contracting is this sort of idea around supplying the government, which is a bright spot for anybody. But you still have to have a lot of access to capital. Access to capital is a big thing in this state, and but it is a challenge that every business owner sees. It's not one of those things that necessarily is unique to you. If a white business owner is having that issue, then you can just assume that a Black business owner is going to have it times two. No different. They both need access to capital.
Right.
And so, but one of the things I talked about specifically was this sort of idea of social capital.
Right.
And getting to know people who have influence and who can vouch for you, right? And so a lot of times that's what most entrepreneurs need when they're just starting, is this sort of, hey, somebody says, you can go ahead and use him. I'll speak for him.
Right.
And so that's huge, and it's easier to do than you might think. I always tell people that it's easier to make somebody like you or get somebody to like you than it is to meet all the government's requirements.
So tell us a little bit about Reliant, how many employees you have, where all your offices are. I know you mentioned you had some employees and then some subcontractors, that sort of thing. So tell us about your offices, and if somebody locally wanted to use your services, how they would go about doing that.
So Reliant serves every state east of the Mississippi River. That was what our business plan always intended. It kept me pretty close to home.
Right.
And actually, I think it's something like 2/3 of the U.S. population is east of the Mississippi or within.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
really?
It's an insane amount of people
Wow.
that are located east of the Mississippi River. And so it's a really good natural boundary. So we have 6 employees, roughly 43 subcontracting crews, and those crews are made up of even more people.
Right.
So anywhere from 5 to 10 on each of those. And we use those throughout the Southeast, Northeast, Midwest to really accomplish whatever work we're executing. So Reliant really specializes in insurance roof replacements. I mean, that's what we really got in the business to do. We have a small commercial roofing division here in the state of Kentucky that really focuses on RFP projects and churches and things like that. Really friends of Reliant that need roofing services and just trust us to do the work. And those are not very competitive for us. You know, folks just call us up and say, hey,
we're going to choose you.
We're going to choose you. And so that's partly why we did that. And also gave us a greater breadth of knowledge in some other roofing systems that we weren't as familiar with. But, you know, if somebody wanted to call us, they could certainly go to our website, ReliantExteriors.com. We are a very tech-centered roofing company, and so having folks out to your house, they're gonna measure it from our corporate office. That's how technology has improved, and they're going to give you a preliminary assessment just over email.
Oh, wow.
We're not going to send anybody out to you just yet, and then we're going to give you some indication of what route you should go, whether this is going to be an out-of-pocket repair or whether it's going to be something that needs ongoing maintenance, or whether or not you should contact your insurance carrier. And so from there, then we actually send people out to you once we kind of whittle down what category you fall into. And so of the roofs that we've done, I think roughly about 50% of our business is here in the state of Kentucky. To date, I think we've done 690 roofs throughout the southeast, and right around 1,100 in the total footprint. So, you know, we're just excited to do it every day. I think the whole goal is for us to be America's most reliable roofing contractor, and do exactly what we say we're going to do. And so that's why we're so tech focused, because that allows us to adopt a process and follow it consistently so that the customer gets exactly what they expect every single time. We've got this new great product that we just rolled out this year, a roof subscription plan. And so it's really for those folks who have a roof repair that needs to be done, but maybe they don't have the money for a full roof replacement.
Oh,
and
that's
so
fantastic.
It's a residential maintenance program that basically puts you in this sort of cycle of maintenance, because most people don't know that really you need to maintain your roof.
Yes, you do.
I mean,
yes, you do.
It's not like you can, it's up there, you know, most people just don't think about it. And so a slow leak happens in your attic, and you never see it, you never see it, you never see it, and then all of a sudden your ceiling falls in.
Right, exactly.
And then you're like, what happened?
Right.
Well, actually, that could have been prevented. And so what we're really trying to do is reinvent the way people buy roofs, rather than it being this sort of impromptu expense that, oh, got to replace that roof this year. Well, no, actually, we're going to help you plan for that 10 years down the road.
That's fantastic.
So that's
fantastic. And you've been in business how long?
5 years.
Wow. Just
5 years.
You know, very impressive, you know, to say the least. And I can't say enough good things, and it really was an honor to be with you today, and to, you know, I was saying before we went on air, just you're an old soul because you're so wise beyond your years. I know you're not yet 30, right?
No.
Is that right? Yeah.
Not 30.
That blows my mind
No.
that you are so young and have it, you're so together. That's what my mom would say. You're so
Oh,
together.
I appreciate that. I ain't though. I ain't all that together. No, but really that is a testament to what is happening in this country, which the advent of technology and the use of the internet really is making it possible for entrepreneurs to be younger, faster, better, more educated. And I mean, people would be floored by what we can do in a day. And really it's technology that makes that happen. You know, like we licensed in 6 states in, I think, a week, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that happens because technology allows us to do it that quickly.
Right.
And so
That's incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for being with us today. It is my pleasure to have spoke today with Demetrius Gray, the owner of Reliant Exterior LLC, based out of Louisville, Kentucky, and now all over the country. He really is an inspiration, and it has been my pleasure, and I'm very blessed to have met you today. And
my pleasure as well.
And been with you today. And you can visit us online at surfky to view this video. You can also check us out on YouTube or if you're looking at your local cable station, you can check us out on channel 14 or channel 16. And as Tim always says, keep living the dream. Thank you so much, and God bless.